Yo, what up, friends? What if I told you there was one of the most busted ways in Diablo 4 right now to get loot and experience? A way that you can farm, get a ton, and I mean a ton of legendaries, be able to accumulate a lot of resources, gold, and experience, and be able to respec and do whatever you want and find all of those aspects that you need for your class. What if I told you too, this was another good way to find some basic uniques and just kind of at your own pace level and push your character. Now, Twitch chat today told me about this farming strategy. I was a little skeptical at first, and I decided to give it a real run and shot and see just what all the hype lived up to. Now, I'm going to walk you through the strategy, the dungeon. I'm sure you've seen some videos on it or a lot of talk about it, and there are other dungeons that do the exact same thing, such as Champions Demise. But I've been told that this one is at least 10 to 20% better due to the time and efficiency and how fast you can do it. Now, to give you an idea of what I'm doing and what the results look like, in about 3 hours, I managed to get 4 or 5 levels. I managed to completely fill out this tab with legendaries and start to fill out this tab with legendaries and start to fill out my entire inventories full of legendaries. I had 0 gold as I've just upgraded and changed a lot of my gear around. So in about 3.5 hours, I got about 9 to 10 million gold and more legendaries than I know what to do with that I have yet to have the chance to go over. I was getting roughly about 20 legendaries an hour, not including the uniques. I was getting about 1 unique an hour as well. And overall, it was pretty good. Now, if you want to experience this and you want to do this as well, you're going to pan out your map. You're going to the Hazar area, and you're going to look for the, wow, they have some really interesting town names. The Virez Waypoint, and we're going to just kind of port over to there. So Town V, we're going to port over to Town V in Providence H. Oh man, when you think about this and you say these things, you're kind of giggling to yourself. Anyways, we're going to port over to the town. We're going to open our map. And right off to the left over here, we're going to look for the Ruins of Eridu. So, of course, my auto way thing is not showing me how to get there. Lo and behold, it is A-okay. So we'll run over there together. I'll show you the dungeon, explain to you how to do it, and show you how to reset the dungeon so that you too can do this farm as well. Now, when I was doing this farm on stream, the farm took roughly about a minute, minute 10, minute 20, depending on how often my cooldowns were up, how well I was positioning myself with the mobs, and overall just the speed at which I was going. You can go faster, you can go slower. It all kind of depends on your character. And from what I've been told, this farming strategy is viable as long as you have access to the dungeon. So if you're in lower tier world tiers, you too can farm it as well. So we're going to come into the dungeon, and the first thing you're going to notice, it's a slay all the enemies. And this one's really good to know because we don't need to kill every single enemy. What we're mostly looking for is the champion and elite packs. So as we go through the dungeon, we're just going to skip over the little mobs, and we're just going to pretty much find our way to big packs of mobs. And we're going to pretty much just clear them out as fast as possible. Now, you don't want to spend a lot of time on stragglers. You really want to just kind of keep moving. And you'll notice when you come to this main hallway here, the map or the mini map is showing us 3 different directions that we can go. We can go north, south, or up the middle. Now, the really cool thing and interesting part about this dungeon is that it doesn't matter which path that we take, they all relatively go the same way. So I'm actually going to go north, and you'll see very quickly while I do this dungeon, the dungeon itself is one ginormous circle. So we're going to drop our traps, we're going to kill the packs. And I had mentioned one of the really cool things is we don't want to kill a lot of the stragglers, we just want to keep going. Now, if you pause the video and rewind about a couple of seconds, you'll notice that a large pack of mobs pretty much appeared out of the sky, and that's the beauty of doing these kind of slay all the enemy ones, because a lot of enemies just kind of appear out of nowhere as one of the charms to doing these maps. Essentially what happens is the game wants you to find, locate, and kill all the rare / champion packs in here. And as you progress through and kill them, instead of killing the stragglers and having to run all around, the game brings and pulls them to you in the form of new packs. So I know that I can give you at this point a X amount of XP per hour, and I'm not going to give you that simply due to the fact that some of you guys will clear this faster and some of you guys will clear this slower. But I will say, depending on how my runs went and how efficient I was getting at roughly a level, maybe a little bit more than a level per hour. So depending on how you line it up, how you handle it, how you clear the packs, and if you're doing this solo or not, you can pretty much do this relatively quickly with some friends. Now, when I started doing it, I did my first couple of runs on stream by myself. You'll notice that I'm doing the run right here by myself. And then eventually I picked up a second, third, and fourth friend, and these runs really started to take off. The good part about these runs is one person can go one way, another person can go another way, and thanks to the way that the system works in Diablo, you pretty much just get experience no matter where you go. So as long as you're in the dungeon with your friends, you'll get experience. Now you'll notice we have 18 monsters left. Well, I killed them relatively quick, but as soon as we get to that 18, 20 monsters left, and you're killing the last pack of mobs, as soon as that countdown says 10, it'll spawn another set of mobs. Now, unfortunately, this run was very unlucky. We didn't get any legendaries, but we're going to press our E key, we're going to hit leave dungeon, and we're going to leave the dungeon. So essentially, this is what we do. We go in, we run the big circle, we clear all the mobs, we press E, we leave the dungeon. Now, to reset the dungeon, there's two ways that you can do this. You can pretty much, I've been told that there's always a cellar over here. You can run to the cellar, run around and do the cellar, or you can press escape, leave game. I like escape, leave game a lot. It's pretty fast, it's pretty quick. It's 2 loading screens. If your computer is extra slow, it might be a little bit longer. And sometimes Diablo likes to hang up and crash. But otherwise, usually it's pretty quick to just exit back out to the exit screen and load right back in. Now, when you're going to do these runs, like I said, you're going to do them fast, you're going to do them quick, and you're going to eventually learn to make them efficient. Now, one of the things that you can do to speed up the efficiency is you can use some of the elixirs. If you go to town and talk to the herbalist, you can craft a whole bunch of elixirs. If you're like me and you've been doing Hell Tides, you probably have a bajillion elixirs just kind of like stacked up somewhere in your consumable tab, and you just kind of like want to get rid of them. Now, it doesn't matter which elixir you use. Pretty much you want to use an elixir more importantly for the experience gain, and every time that you reset the dungeon, you're going to lose the elixir anyway, so use cheap ones. The idea is to get an extra 5% experience per dungeon, but I mean, like, you kind of burn through them quick, so I would really recommend using the elixirs only if you're doing party play. If you're doing party play, resetting the dungeon won't cause you to lose your elixir. Now you notice, oh look, a legendary. Now you'll notice when we did this run now, I reset the dungeon by exiting out to my login screen. That's mostly because I'm doing it as a solo player. If I were to be playing this in a party, and I was the party leader, I wouldn't log out to the exit screen. I would do the exact same thing that I did, except I would have 4 friends. So, you get to the dungeon, your 3 other friends request, and this was the easiest way that I found to do it, have your friends request to join your party. You'll get the little pop-up. They'll be ported directly into the dungeon. Oh my god, there's a goblin! That's so cool! Your friends will be ported directly into the dungeon with you. We're actually going to clear this and kill the goblin. Your friends will be ported directly into the dungeon with you, and then you'll clear the dungeon. When the dungeon is done and it is time to leave, you as the party leader will right-click on your name in the party and hit leave dungeon. Now, this is the very important part. You will select leave the party. The game will then force you out of the dungeon. You will be back at the entrance to the dungeon, and then your instance will be reset. You'll walk back in, your friends will request to rejoin you, and you'll do the dungeon again. Same way, one person goes one way, one person goes up the middle, one person goes south, and you meet up when the dungeon's done. Once again, you finish the dungeon, you as the party leader, whoever the party leader is in your group, they right-click on their portrait, they press leave zone, they get ported out of the dungeon. The remaining party members will then leave the dungeon themselves. The party leader will rejoin the dungeon, and then you request on top of him to rejoin the dungeon, or her, or whoever, and you get ported right back into the dungeon. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now, this dungeon and this farm, relatively easy. You see we're doing this one. We've gotten a second legendary. We have 7 monsters left, 5 monsters left. And we're just going to do the exact same thing. And I'm actually going to go kill that goblin. Like, there's like no world ever where I'm like not going to kill that goblin. Now, in a normal circumstance, I wouldn't go look for this last mob. I could pretty much... This last mob, like, bugged? Is he just not here? Is it the goblin? Where's the last guy? Well, I guess this is a true showcase to Diablo and all of its greatness. Now, I'd like to mention, and this is very important in this, that at the time of recording, this has not been nerfed. You can see in live action, this is still viable. I'm going to let the goblin go. C'est la vie. I cannot guarantee that this will not be nerfed. I cannot guarantee that this will stay. I have found this to be extremely powerful and just a fantastic way to get a bunch of gear and a bunch of loot. And while it's available, I encourage you guys to go give it a shot and go test it out. Yeah, man, it's pretty busted. Oh, hello, cat. It's pretty busted and pretty strong. And I really just kind of wanted to share it with you because you guys did the great honor of teaching me and showing me. So the least I can do is show you guys. Now, if you guys have any other really cool ideas or cool farming spots or cool things to do in Diablo, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I would love to try out new things. I'd love to continue exploring the game. I'm really hooked. Now I'm going to continue to push my character to level 90. There is, you know, it has been confirmed that Harlequin Crest does drop in the game. We're pretty much told that it is a world drop, and from what I've read, it looks like it's gated behind level. So I'm pretty much just going to, like, hopefully push this guy to 90 and then see if I can get one for myself to drop. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then explore pretty much everything else that the game has to offer. I'd like to still push nightmare dungeons. I'd like to progress this character further. I'd like to try other rogue builds. And one of the beautiful parts about doing this is allowing me to get more gear so that I can swap over to penetrating shot or try out flurry or try out anything else, really. I also saw a really cool druid build and kind of want to go give that a run. Now, on average, I had mentioned earlier, I can't really give you an experience per hour kind of calculator depending on how you play as a person and how you're going. You'll notice that this is run number 3. We're like 10% into our next renown, our next paragon point or renown point. Or not renown, they're called paragon points. I don't know what I'm calling right now. And it's going relatively quick. The farm is simple, the farm is easy. I really don't have to pay a lot of attention to what I'm doing. And, you know, depending on how it goes, you'll kind of like pay off really well. Now, on average, it is roughly 1 legendary per run. So you should pretty much expect that to be the average. Some runs like you saw in this, you'll get none. Some runs you'll get 2. And it's just pretty much RNG being RNG. When we tested on stream, I had mentioned it was 1 unique per hour. And that was roughly what I was getting. Shodakin in my group got an extra unique over the course of the 3 hours that we were doing it. SciTech got 1 less than I did and only saw 2. So it kind of really...
I'm carrying too much.
Oh my God, I am full again. It kind of really is just gonna come down to like RNG and how it works. So if you get lucky, you get lucky. If you get unlucky, you get unlucky. It's just the nature of the game. The sample sizes we have right now are pretty small, but overall they've been pretty straightforward and pretty successful. So take it how you will. I think this is a really good farm. I like this farm a lot more than Champions Demise. I know there's another one, Iron something, that's also supposed to be really good. I encourage you to go out there with your class, see which dungeon works best for you, which one that you like the most, and just kind of explore it out and see. For now, I'm going to go finish running this dungeon. I'm going to go get this video edited out to you guys, and I'm going to continue to push my rogue a little bit more. It's kind of, I don't know, man. I kind of like it. Reminds me of doing Infinite Crimson Temples, so gear is gear, and I look forward to what else Diablo has to offer. For now, friends, so long for all of you today. Thank you for hanging out, and I hope this dungeon and this guide helps you get a lot of legendaries and a lot of gold. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and let me know down below. Did it work for you? Did it not work for you? What would you change? Has it been nerfed? Are we still able to do this? But yeah, man. So long, friends. Goodbye.